do a little demo. Yeah. So I thought I'd use oils today. I'll just show a couple of pictures. Sorry. So just I'll show you a couple of pictures that I've been working on this week. So with so the thing we're looking at the moment is atmospheric landscapes. I think I've started this. Let me just check. Yep. So this is a painting I started earlier in the year in Chelsea, and it was actually quite a dull day when I started it and didn't have any leaves on the trees. And I need to go back to Chelsea on Sunday, so I thought, well, I'll just work a bit more on this one. And it was a lovely sunny day, and I really like the subjects with things like damp fly, and that really appeals to me. And to me, that does create quite an atmosphere, or it's got the potential to create an atmospheric effect. So that was that one. A couple more that I've been working on. This one I started yesterday of Albert Bridge, and again, really trying to use light to create some atmosphere. When it's really bright sunlight, can be quite difficult. One way that can help is to have some things in shadow. So I was thinking having the bridge in shadow, and then just a little bit of light catching here and there. So I was hoping that might create some atmosphere. I worked on this a couple of hours, but then the light just completely moved around, and this was all bright and illuminated. And I thought that's probably time to just go back another day and work on that one. And then the other one that I did, and again, this is a bit like the dapple light idea of just having like sparkle on water. So this was right at the end of the afternoon. It's very quick and sketchy, probably about an hour and a half's work. Just to try and sort of get the atmosphere more than anything. So there's probably a little bit more detail could go in there, but just sort of blocks of shapes and light and atmosphere. So it's a couple of paintings that I've been working on where I'm trying to create some sort of atmospheric effects out of lighting. This was a photograph I took quite a few years ago on the Thorpe Bay on the mud flats, early morning. And I always quite like that one. I've used that before as a demo. I wouldn't mind actually making that into a painting. And this was the watercolour version that I just demoed last week, and then I added a little bit of pastel, so that's one way you could work. I thought perhaps do a little bit in oils today. I'm not sure how far I'll get. So yeah, these are the water mixable oils, and really to start with, I would probably, given this can be a studio painting, I probably would just do some underpainting, I think, to start with. So I'll do that now, and then perhaps next week build up a second layer. Let's see what we've got, sort of browns. I've just got a couple of colours out, and just looking to sort of create some greyish colours for these clouds to start with. So really quite often I will just start with areas of light and dark. Quite thin paint to start with, just to sketch everything out. So that can be these clouds around here. And then the boat would go in here. I've had a go at this before as a demo, but I think I just zoomed in on that bit. And actually I think maybe lose a little bit of the mud flats, but I think sometimes just to create a nice sense of space, having a bit more included would work. And this is quite often how I will start out, fairly sort of sketchily, and that way I can move areas around. This one of Albert Bridge started very much like that. I actually kind of redrew it, moved it down and across and up, and just kind of feeling your way around the composition to start with. And using brushes, but also with a tissue or rags, just to move bits around. I think the other thing would be like perhaps to have the boat slightly higher up might create a more dramatic sort of look. Something perhaps I like about that, rather than getting lost in the horizon. it's a way of just including all the main elements. And just go for a slightly bigger brush. This will do. And just wash something in at the side. So it's almost like a kind of watercolour wash drawing, and this will dry very quickly. Perhaps a little bit more. Yeah, got a kind of an impression of how the whole thing would look. And then once I'm there, I can then start to build a stronger layer of paint. So that'd be like my first initial sketch. Let's just make the boat a little bit more defined. That's going to go in there. The cabin just slightly higher. And then for the next layer of paint, I would make it a little bit thicker. So working background to foreground, I'm thinking the bits that are in the furthest away are probably this bluey grey sky, these sort of colours in here. And they're probably the first areas that I would try and work in. So a little bit of yellow ochre and a little bit of brown just in there. With the water mixable oils or any oils, sometimes I use a little bit of medium. So this is a mixture of the water mixable thinners and the kind of medium or linseed oil. So the water mixable stuff goes this kind of milky colour. I think it's slightly emulsifying, but that I find quite nice. And then I can just pop that on as quite a nice sort of creamy consistency. Cutting around where the boat's going to go. Maybe just paint a little section round here. So that bit, perhaps a little bit of the sky. So I've got that many colours out. Let's try a little bit of orange mixed in with that. So I've got blue and brown and orange mixed together to create a grey. But I'm going to add a little bit more orange, make that a little bit warmer, sort of around here. So where the clouds are nearer the sun, just want that slightly warmer colour. And then as I work my way out, I can go a little bit greyer. That's a bit too dark, a bit more white. That's too light now. And what I like about the oils is that they'll stay wet for quite a long time. So if I want to, I can put the colours down like that, but I can also sort of soften the edges by painting slightly into the lighter areas. Sort of blur edges. If I pick up too much paint, then I need to just wipe a bit off my brush. Just work back in. So that's a way of just softening the edges out. And then the very brightest bit, I think a white with just a tiny bit of yellow, just to warm it up. So it's kind of warm white. That can be Hello, hi Mary. Like that. Then maybe a smaller brush to do that. Just want to get these sort of sun flares, so I can do, just pull some of the white out, wipe the brush, maybe wash the brush and dry it again. And just a tiny bit more. So that's the sort of thing I would do to try and get some of those effects. Any questions? All good? Okay, right.